Welcome to At the Bell. This is Derek Poppy Roland. Today's special guest is world-renowned trainer and coach, boxing coach, Mr. James Ali Bashir. What's up, Mr. Bashir? How you feeling today, man?
I'm good.
I'm glad you came on to sit down and talk about boxing with us. The show we have
here. I
love
boxing, man, so I'm here.
Yeah, the boxing show At the Bell really talks about, the history and tells a little information to the world about who you are, how you got started, what boxing meant to you, and then we talk to a lot of fighters about what life is after boxing. So I wanted to bring you on and talk about your knowledge as a coach, as a professional coach, and bringing all these people into boxing, being all around the world as a coach. What do you think about? Tell us your story, man. Tell us about how you got started.
I think I had my first boxing match in 1958, 1959. Wow. Those were between 1958 and 1963. That was the extent of my boxing. Mm-hmm. My then trainer, probably the best teacher that I ever had in boxing, was named Frank Shirley.
Okay.
And he taught me all of the do's and don'ts and how to stutter step, how to feint, how to bob, weave, and how to counter punch. He taught me the logistics, and he'd sit me down, and we would watch films and study films over and over and over and over. Mm-hmm. I never got tired of watching those films.
Right.
I never got tired of Mr. Shirley talking, because when he was talking, I was visualizing myself doing the things that he was talking about,
So from a young kid, you were being programmed and trained and taught to be a good coach?
Yeah, but I was enthusiastic about it. I was enthusiastic about it, and that's always the case. Mm-hmm. Mr. Shirley would come back later on and tell me, he said, go into your lockout. He said, because you can't see. You're getting hit with stuff that you shouldn't get hit with. Mm-hmm. I'm saying, what do you mean? He said, you just can't see, man. Just leave it alone. Come and help me. And I got offended by it, so I went around to other gyms, trying to learn boxing, because in my mind, I was going to be the next great lightweight or something, I was a little guy, And, I went around, and then one day I came home, and my mom told me, said, Mr. Shirley came here and said that, would you please come to the gym and help him train other fighters? And so I became an understudy. I went to the gym.
Wow, that's a good story. That you're working up on that. So you're a young kid working up under another trainer, and you became such a successful trainer. Yes, I started very, very early,
but I had no idea that it was going to develop into being a career as a boxing trainer. I had no idea at that time. I was just doing it because of the fun, because of going around to the amateur fights and stuff, and I was trying to breathe my enthusiasm into other boxers, because I was born with impaired vision, and even today I can't have LASIK vision because I'm not a candidate. I went to the best doctors in the world, Switzerland, Sweden, Germany. The ex-champion Wladimir Klitschko sent me to the best doctors in the world to have my eyes examined to see if I could get LASIK vision. And they told me that you're not a candidate. You have what they call astigmatism, so you can't get LASIK vision.
Well, this Shirley guy, he must have been a really special guy to be able to pick that up in a young kid, because
he didn't know nothing about. He didn't know about the vision, me being impaired. He just knew I had Coca-Cola glass.
You were getting hit with things you shouldn't have been getting hit with, and he was able to say he can't see.
Yeah,
that's a good point right there. That's some good thing that coaches.
And he saved me from getting brain damage. You understand? But let me tell you something. I was in a lot of street fights, and I don't know what it was. It was an uncanny ability to determine when somebody was going to punch. And I slip punches, I block punches, because I knew if I got hit in the eyes and my eyes swelled up, I was in big trouble. So I had an uncanny sense of when a punch was coming, and I'd slip, bob, weave, and people thought that was just good. But
I can relate to that. I can relate to that.
It was like a video game. My boxing ability was like a video game. I said, yeah, he gonna throw a right hand. He gonna throw a left hook right hand. And I can see when they do when somebody
instinct.
Yeah, instinct.
Yeah. I can understand when I started losing the vision in my eye and I didn't tell anybody. I was fighting with one eye for a while.
Right.
But I was slipping like everybody. Oh, you can see he's slipping like that. But it was instinct.
Instinct.
Yeah. So you work with a lot of other professional coaches, a lot of big names that you work with.
Yeah, I work with Tommy Parks, Lee Black, Leroy Swain, Carmine Graziano, Sam Solomon.
Okay.
You know, Carmine. You know, these different guys, and then I had different stints with Georgie Benton.
Okay.
So I picked up tidbits from each one of these guys, and I locked them into my memory bank. They'd say something or they'd do something in my presence, and I'd lock it into my memory bank. And then I formulated it all into my own style and say, okay, now I'm ready to teach. It's not like today where guys go in and work with the amateurs a couple of weeks and then tomorrow you'll see them in a pro corner trying to teach a pro how to box. It doesn't work like that there. I worked under Tom Parks and these guys for years.
Tommy Parks was a brilliant coach, man. I was lucky to be part of his stable. He touched a lot of people. He trained some big names, and I was one of them, like his last one, you know. Which was, you know, I talked to a couple guys.
He was, because Tommy Parks was a teacher, man.
Yeah, he was a teacher.
He was a teacher. You know, it's different than nowadays where like I said, these guys they work with in the gym a couple of years, and then they'll come out and they say they're a trainer. You know?
Some of the big pros that you work with, some of the guys that you work with as a professional?
I work with Maurice Harris, Jamil McCline, Shannon Briggs, Lennox Lewis, Wladimir Klitschko, and even the current heavyweight champion, Alexander Usyk. I was his first trainer. I trained Alexander Usyk for 3 years. I trained him all the way to this first cruiserweight championship, and for some strange reason, he just told me, I don't need you no more. He moved on. You know,
how do you market yourself as a like such a world-renowned trainer? When people come to you, and do they come to you? I want you to train. How do you get the reputation? Or how do you get these jobs? Or how do you get into so many champions? How does that happen?
One success always opens the door for another success. I work with different fighters. I even trained Aaron Pryor Jr. You know, for a little while. I mean, Aaron Pryor and I worked together for 5 or 6 fights, and word of mouth. You know, Emanuel Steward saw my worth inside the Lennox Lewis training camp, and when Lennox retired, Emanuel kept me in California right after the fight. Lennox Lewis fought Vitaly Klitschko. And
I remember that fight. Yeah.
Emanuel said, when the fight's over, you stay here in California with me, you know? And I stayed. And that whole week we stayed in California, ate dinner together, we traveled around, went to movies and stuff like that there. And through it all, he was talking to me. He said, look, I like your information. I like that you have the knowledge of boxing. You're not just talking boxing.
Right.
You have good application, good skills. So what I wanted to do is, I'm going to give you a contract, and I want you to come to Detroit with me.
Yeah.
So I moved into Detroit.
Coming from Emanuel Steward, that means a lot, right?
Yeah, I was with him 17 years.
So the sacrifice you must have give up for the travel, to go on the training camps for months and months. Like, how do you know? What about your personal life?
It's ironic that you brought up that point, because now when I look back on my life, you can't get that back. You know, I miss weddings, funerals, birthdays, graduations. I miss those things, and now my children are adults. And, you know, sometimes they bring up, say, hey, Dad, you wasn't there for this, you wasn't there for that. And all I could do is look at them and say, I'm sorry, you know? But in the privacy of my own mind and my own emotion, I you know what I'm saying, damn, how could I?
Yeah, it's a big
because
sacrifice.
of my love for the boxing.
Yeah.
You know, I said, damn, you know, I overlooked a lot of stuff. Now these kids are adults. And I think that's one of the things that us as men now, we look at our children, but we don't stop to think that one day these children are going to be adults, and they're going to say, Dad, what did you do? You know?
Yeah, that's something. Got to make those choices.
So,
traveling
by the
around.
grace of God, my children love me and respect me, and that's all that any man works for. You know, to have the love and respect of his children. You know, you don't have to like me, but you have to respect me.
And sometimes the money is not enough, right? Being able to provide for them and send the money home ain't
Like I
always
said,
enough.
you can't get those things back. You know, but I'm blinded by my enthusiasm for the sport of boxing. I wasn't thinking.
Right.
You know, when you're 20, you know, you look at your life at 10, you say, man, how could I have been involved in that? Then when you get 30, you look at your life at 20 and say, oh, man, and then when you get 40, you look at your life at 30, you say, oh, man, I could be better than that. Each year moves you further away from the place that you are at that time.
Well, sometimes, like you said, for the love of boxing, man, and I started so young. My whole life was boxing, and when boxing was over, to me, like, it wasn't worth living. You know, to be honest with you,
it was a void.
It was more like, you know, like big void. Like, what am I living for? You know, but I was able to reintroduce myself to some other things and go on and move on to some other things. So now, the boxing today and boxing back then, how do you compare boxing, man, back then and boxing now? Because I'm getting mixed things with, I used to believe that.
Well, I think it's more commercial now. I don't think it's as much love as it was back then as it is now. I think that it's more commercial. I think that it's more money. Everything is about money. You know, that's why I said, you know, the people that come to me, I say, you know, I've been with this sport, this business/sport. They say, well, why you say business/sport? Because it seems like everything is business first and then the sport. Sport is later on.
So now it's not about fighting you to be the best. It's about fighting you to make the most money.
Oh, no. Nobody's interested in fighting the best.
Okay.
They're fighting for just money. There's no enthusiasm about competing to see that I'm better. I can do this better than you. The competition part is over. You know, for instance, the Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford. These guys are in their early 30s. I mean, when you're enthusiastic about boxing, Tommy Hearns and Ray Leonard, they fought at 25 and 23 years old, I believe. You understand what I'm saying? Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence is in their 30s.
Right.
Why did it take so long?
Why is it taking so long?
Why is it taking so long?
They may never get there. You never know.
What's the problem?
They may never get there.
Because of money.
I think somebody's afraid of the old. You know, somebody afraid of the old. But
that's what I'm saying about today and yesterday. Yesterday, you got in the ring. You take, for instance, Larry Holmes, Ken Norton, Ernie Shavers, Ron Lau, all of these guys crisscrossed the boxing. Hey, you beat me? Good. I'm fighting him tomorrow. You know, and they kept going and kept going and kept going and kept going. They didn't care about that.
But now, you know, I mean, you know, we can't judge it because, you know, back in the day they would fight and don't make no money, and it brings a lot of people messed up physically and not able to see or talk right, and they have nothing to show for it.
But that does not negate the fact that they was doing it because of the love of the sport.
Okay.
You know, I didn't say that it didn't have ill effects on them.
Well, so
but they were doing it for the love of the sport.
Now you have guys that say, you know what, I'm gonna fight, but I'll make sure I got something, you know, for the fight. So I don't know. There's two ways to look at it.
You look at Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder. How could two beautiful heavyweights be around so long and not fight? They haven't met each other. They haven't met each other yet.
Yeah, it was. Wilder's fighting this weekend. Coming up this month, he's fighting.
Right.
Did you see the fight this past weekend?
Yes, I did.
What did you think about Ruiz and
I think the better part of both of their careers is behind them. You know, I think that Wilder would knock out Ruiz. You know, he'll put Ruiz to sleep. At one point in the fight, I think it was 3 or 4 rounds, they just sat around looking at each other.
Yeah.
Because they were so tired.
Yeah, I don't know what to expect. I probably would see how Wilder looks his next fight before I'm able to make any calls on what he is. He took
one thing is not going to change.
Well, he took 2 bad beatings, and that has to weigh a toll on him against Fury.
Well, we'll see what Wilder is not a whole lot.
He took a
the
lot.
right hand. That's not going to change.
But I think that's probably the problem. I think somebody got to teach him how to box.
Well,
man.
I think that time has passed.
What would you do if you had him? Well, how would you train him if you was training him?
I train him for 2 things.
You were training with Dante Wilder. He was under in your
If
camp
I was
for
training
6
Deontay
weeks.
Wilder, I trained him for 2 things. Just use the jab to set him up and then knock his head off with the right hand. Because at this point, I mean, he's got, 42, 43 fights?
Yeah.
It's not likely that somebody can come in and teach him the logistics of boxing now.
Right.
He's had so much success with that right hand. So I just tell him to work the jab and try to move his head to the right place and then drop the bomb.
I wish I had him, man. I'd teach him to keep his hands up and move his head, because then he won't get hit.
Again, this guy's found so much success with the equalizer.
Yeah.
It's hard to, when a guy's had so much success with that, it's just hard to get them to do the right thing. I think it's too late in the game to do that.
Oh, you might be right. Seeing him, though, the other day, commentating on the phone, he looked like he was well and he was talking clearly and looked good. So I'm happy about that, because I felt real bad those 2 fights, man, with Fury. Man, he looked like he wasn't going to never be the same. But he looked good. We got to see how he looked when he come in the ring. So you work with some places, you travel some places. Where'd you travel, man? Boxing, man.
I went to Australia, I went to New Zealand, Sweden, France, Italy.
That must be a nice life, man, from boxing, huh?
I just, if somebody had told me in 1969, 1970 that I would accomplish all that I did in the sport of boxing, I'd say you're crazy. You're crazy. It's not likely that I could accomplish that, but I did. I did it. Thank God. Thank God I was able to do it.
That's good. You might have helped a lot of lives and still helped a lot of people, and God blessed you with some gifts, and you was able to pass it on, and then able to travel and do some things. That's outstanding. Yeah. But it wasn't all good, though. It wasn't all good. You had some problems recently about that with the female thing. How would that go? Let me hear your part of that.
Ivana Habazin is a 2-time world champion, I believe, and I was working with Ivana Habazin, and during the first time that her and Clarissa Shields was supposed to box.
Right.
I came up to look at the scale because I thought that Clarissa was having a problem making the weight. And when I came to look at the scale, I don't know, one of the members of a crew, I think somebody said it was her sister or somebody, she told me to back up and she put her hands in my face. I stepped back. I didn't have to step back because it's legal for me to look at the scale.
Right.
But I stepped back, and it wasn't far enough for her. She put her hands to my face again. And I told her, where I come from, people don't put their hands in other people's face. Okay. And I said, show some respect because I'm your elder.
Oh, she was younger than you, okay.
Much younger than me. Show some respect for your elder. She put her hands in my face again. I said, don't do that again. So I guess then her brother, Clarissa Shields' brother, struck me in the back of the head with a pipe, or I don't know what it was. It was something steel.
Wow.
I guess this guy was trying to get a reputation. He's a coward.
This at the weigh-in?
This is at the weigh-in. This is the weigh-in.
In Atlantic City?
No, we was in Flint, Michigan.
Oh, Michigan. I thought it was a Jersey thing.
No, Flint, Michigan. And he struck me. I guess he's trying to get a reputation. I knocked this old guy out. He's 25, 26 years old. Wow. He's a coward. He's a coward. If you got a grievance with me, bring it to me. Just bring it straight to me.
Right.
Like the old neighborhood. Just come and tell me.
Did he get arrested for that? Or that was,
they arrested him. They arrested him. And they arrested him. I think he did 1 year in jail. He's back on the street now, and he's going to do it again because there was just a slap on the wrist. 1 year in jail is nothing for him to do something like that there,
And what happened to you in terms of medically?
Oh, man, I was messed up. The guy hit me in the head. I fell face first into a marble floor. I have bleeding on the brain twice. I had bleeding on the brain right there in Michigan. They kept me in the hospital for a few days.
So you missed the fight?
No, the fight never came off.
Oh, so the weigh-in,
It stopped the whole fight. It stopped the whole fight.
Wow.
And I thought it was a cowardly act. He hit me and then he ran out the door. He didn't come to my face. He never said nothing to me. He just came up behind me and struck me in the head and ran out the door. So people said, "Oh, I did this wrong. I did this wrong." I said, my thing is, I can say what I want to say. As long as I don't touch nobody,
right.
I can say what I want to say.
Right.
And I told the girl, "Don't put your hands in my face."
Wow.
I don't do that. I don't do that with nobody.
So there's a lot of different rumors about it. So now hearing it from you, I get to see
this is the truth.
Yeah, to see
and nobody can dispute this here. I was just looking at the scale, and the girl put her hand in my face a couple of times. I said, "Listen, don't do that. Where I come from, you don't put your hands in people's face because you get bad results like that." And at that point, God came and struck me. God struck me. The fight didn't go off.
Well, I had a little thing at a weigh-in one time when I was fighting Mike Mungeon, but I never knew that of any other time where the weigh-ins get so crazy that they don't even have the fight.
And then when reporters asked me about my take on it, I said, "Listen, if he had struck anybody else, they would have charged him with attempted murder, because whatever he hit me with knocked me completely out." I hit the floor face first.
Was the blood any blood?
It was blood everywhere. It was blood everywhere. I mean, I was bleeding through the nose, through the mouth. I was bleeding from the brain.
Wow.
And I said that, and I'll say it again. Had that been anybody else, he would have been charged with attempted murder, and he would have did more than 1 year. But black people attack black people all the time. Mm-hmm. So that's nothing. That's nothing out of the norm. Blacks attack blacks all the time. So we'll just give him a year, slap him on the wrist, and let him go. And now he's probably on the streets now, and he's gonna attack somebody else somewhere. Because he didn't learn nothing from what he did.
Well, we hope that's not true, but I understand your point. I hope that.
If he had look, for instance, if he had attacked Max Kellerman, Kathy Duva, anybody, all right? Anybody that was a white person, they would have charged him with attempted murder. He wouldn't have got away with that.
Yeah.
So a lot of things in this country has got to change, not just boxing, in this country, period.
Right.
Because it was two black men attacking each other. It happens all the time.
Yeah, a lot of that happens. You're right.
But if somebody attacked somebody white, Jim Lampley at HBO, Harold Letterman, HBO, if you attack somebody white, it's going to the penalty is going to be different.
Yeah.
And I challenge anybody
There's
in
a
boxing.
lot of that in the world, in other areas.
I challenge anybody in boxing or in the world to say different.
Well, I'm sorry you had to go through that, man. I'm glad that you.
You're sorry.
I'm glad that you able to still be, well and talk well and everything.
By the grace of God, I came back.
Yeah, that was
by the grace of God, I came back.
All right, so now what we got going on now with you? Like, okay, you back into the training thing, or you resting, or what you doing?
Yeah, I'm back in training. I have a young man out of Kiev, Ukraine. And his name is Vlad Sirenko, Sirenko. And
a week.
He's a heavyweight, 6'4", 240. He's 19-0 with 16 KOs, and I'm really big on him because I think that he's going to be the next big thing coming out.
When he fighting again?
Well, he just got in the United States.
Okay.
He just came into the United States with this war going on in
Ukraine. Yeah.
In Ukraine, so he had to come into the United States, and he just arrived here 2 days ago. So we're going to get busy very shortly. He's 19-0 with 16 KOs, and I see him as being the next big thing coming out of Ukraine.
Okay.
I've got another young man, also a heavyweight, Igor Plevecko, and he's out of New York, and he's 7-0 with 4 KOs, and he too is on the verge of breaking into big-time boxing here in the United States.
Okay, so with all your skills, with all your knowledge, with everything you've learned about boxing, what would you give to some young fighter that's watching us today from around the world? What advice would you give to all the young fighters today?
To commit to your craft, to commit to your craft, to commit to your lifestyle, because lifestyle plays into boxing. If you're not dedicated to the sport, then don't get involved in the sport, because you can get your brain displaced with just one punch. You know, boxing is a dangerous sport. It's a beautiful sport if you're paying attention. But if you're not paying attention, you can get yourself in a really, really bad place. So I think that dedication is the key. Mm-hmm. You know, listen to your trainers. You know, embrace what your trainers telling you, because most of the time the trainers are speaking from knowledge, because they may have run into some problems coming up in boxing. So when the trainer comes to tell you, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, they're not just being hard on you, they're being hard on you for a good reason. You have to listen, you have to dedicate yourself to it. If you're not dedicated to it, go play ping pong or something.
I agree with you on that, man. That's the best information you can give, is to dedicate this thing. The dedication is so important, and it's so easily, though, to get caught up into. And what I notice about this, it's so easily, once you start becoming champions, you got the rappers coming around you, you got, you know, all different women now, and girls, the parties, the TV shows.
Foolishness.
All of this stuff now, yeah.
Foolishness. You know, that you know, what the boxer has to come to grips with and come to understand is that your friends and all of the hangers-on, they're not getting in that ring.
Yeah.
They're not getting hit on the chin. They're not getting hit on the temple. They're not getting broken ribs and broken hands and stuff. They're not. So that's what they got to ask themselves. These people, they can only go to the ring, but they can't come in. They can't take those punches. Mm-hmm. You know, and when you get displaced inside the ring, when I say displaced, I mean dazed, knocked down, and you got to get up. They can root and holler all they want to from the outside, but you are the one in the ring, and you've got to do it. That's the reason why I left America. Wow. You know, because the fighters that I'm working with now, those guys are dedicated. Those guys don't talk back to me. Those guys don't question what I'm telling them. I'm giving them something from a position of knowledge. I'm saying, this is what you need to do. And they say, okay.
Well, that's a lot to be given to America, man, to the people looking and watching this. That's good information. I'm glad you came on. Share your thoughts, share your knowledge. I thank you for it. And I hope we get to see you again soon, man. And good luck with that, man. This is At the Bell with Derek Poppy Roland. My man, James Ali Bashir, sharing his parts about boxing, and he gave some really good information to all of you young fighters coming up into the world of boxing. I'd like to thank him.
Thank you.
Thanks, my brother. Thanks, my brother.
Yes, sir.
Good interview.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Good interview.